So Peter, back to you. What other immediate cost benefits does the owner operator get from using the platform?
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Jonathan. Before I answer that, Matt brought up, showed you the system and showed you a concept with multiple languages and multiple terminologies. And at the top of each one of those concepts was an identifier. And this is really, really important for the people who are interested in machine readable data and semantic interoperability. This is how we achieve that. So one of the reasons why I chose the architecture around that we've built the system on is looking ahead to how the machine readable data is created and exchanged. So I'm doing a lot of work at the moment in Korea with their smart factories, and one of the problems they had was that a lot of the machines wouldn't talk to each other, and it's all around this whole question of semantic interoperability. And I've been very lucky to be working on another standard recently, ISO 29002. It's been a work of a labour of love. But it's going to be published next year, and it's a really, really important document. So we've had complete international cooperation and input into finally cracking the problem of semantic interoperability, and that's very key that our system can do that. And perhaps we need to make more of that point at times. But back to your question, Jonathan, there's three key areas in the next stage of the traditional SPIR process where the owner-operator suffers, frankly, avoidable costs. First and most obvious issue is the duplication of purchase spares. Not being able to see the same product across different documents in the traditional process. I've turned up at owner-operators where they've had a room full of people scouring through spreadsheets, or none of them talking to each other and all buying the same spares. I mean, it's madness. It's why when you go to a site many years later, they got lots of spares, and people who know me used to say my patented dust micrometer gauge. I could tell how old the spares were because they were never going to be used. Why have you bought the? What do you do when a pump fails? We send it out for repair. Well, why have you got the spares? It's this whole thing is just so. It's not joined up. The second issue is the cataloging. One of the advantages of what we've done, linking the SPIR lines to material masters in the owner-operator system is hard work and it's costly. We bring all that forward. We enable the owner-operator to bring their existing material masters into the system, and some of the smart matching that Alikhan will show you later on. We're able to bring in some of that and do some mapping around that, so that we can say, okay, this SPIR line does exist already, and add the material masters into there, material master number into there. So it's a huge saving further on the process. And the third one is, as I mentioned earlier, my dust micrometer gauge. The buying of recommended spares that are not required, and a lot of you have worked with me before. So telling you about this, but the obviously the SPIR form doesn't have criticality on it, quite rightly. It doesn't. It's not able to understand the response to failure strategy at a particular site, and so that none of that information is available if you're just purchasing this straight. It's purchasing the spares straight off your spreadsheets, and that's what we try to bring together with all the different modules, and try and solve those problems, because it is a holistic process. It's a whole process, and the big advantage of what we've done with Kspir is we can bring the start of that process forward. By being able to see and evaluate the SPIR documents as they're being created, we can start to look. Oh yeah, that looks like something that already exists in our system. We can start to map all those processes. So the mad rush after data handover to create operational data for a plant in commissioning is we reduce a lot of that stress. That's the idea of what we can do. So some of those issues are dealt with in modules that we're not going to be discussing today, but I'll hand back to Jonathan and then on to Alikhan to show you some of the other parts of the system.
Great, Peter, thanks. That really, I hope, brings home the potential for reducing money, working capital, carbon tied up, and avoid wasting cash on spares that will never be used. And as you say, Peter, we're focusing today on the 2 of the 5 modules. There will be other webinars. The next one's going to be in about a month, and that'll probably be on the MBOM module. And looking at the basic and the material master modules today. So Alikhan, you're up. Let's take the second point that Peter raised. Can you share with the audience, and thank you all very much, there's a whole bunch of people on here, and not many leaving as well, which is even better news. Can you share with the audience how the system has the ability to embed the owner-operator's own material master specifications into the SPIR document, so that these could potentially be populated as part of the SPIR document completion?
Yep, sure. Thank you, Jonathan. Hope you can hear me well. As you can see here on the screen, and as Matt has shown you, KOIOS allows you to create data specifications, and these come in different types. So you can have your SPIR specifications, the document header, the tag details, but you can also have material specifications, or you might be referring to them as noun modifiers, but we call them items of supply. And let's have a look at an example, a deep groove ball bearing, and let's have a look at what it has. So here, very similarly to what you've seen in the SPIR specifications, we allow you to configure all the properties that you would like the manufacturer to fill in to describe this material. You can specify, more importantly, you can specify what values they can fill in and can't. So you can control the representation and the unit of measurement, and all of these small details, like, you know, separating the unit of measurement and then restricting it to a specific type of, like, number of decimal places. These are really important to ensuring high data quality. And also you can configure which properties are required for the manufacturer to fill in. So unless they fill them in, they will not be able to submit the document or like update the status of the document. So they will be required to do this before they can switch. And as Matt has said before, all of these blue text here are concepts. And if you click on it, you have alternative terms. And given that you can populate multiple languages into the same concepts, it allows us to have a very smooth transition to, for example, if you have equipment manufacturers that are German, and we can simply change the language quite quickly. And this is importantly not Google Translation. These are the terms that have been inserted in German, and it's similar can be done in any of the languages that you need. So let's go back to English, and now let's see how these specifications are embedded into the SPIR documents. So if we now go back and view one of these. Okay, here we can see that, I mean, there is a field on the SPIR document for a spare part class name. And once the manufacturer selects a spare part class name that matches a class of specification that you've created, they will be prompted to fill in the material information that looks like this. And here we can see these are all the properties that you've said that the manufacturer should fill in. The red ones are those that are required. And yeah, if it's a list of values, these are the only things they can select. But also importantly, for each of the values, for each cell, you can see the audit history. You can see when and which user has added it, who's changed it, who's deleted it. You can also view it for the whole document. For example, see the audit of all the spare parts that you've had. And this is how the specifications are embedded into the SPIR documents. I mean, on the audit data, you can also view the activity feed, and you can in general see everything that the content has been updated, that the document was created. You can see all of this on the dashboards, and it's something that you'll never be able to do on a simple Excel spreadsheet.